And welcome back to Code&Gamology. Today we're making a game called Fiffy's Blast Off. We will be using Fiffy's rocket, so we get to see how dog-ish it is. Let's check it out. When you start, you have to press S to start. Let me demonstrate losing real quick. That's what happens when you go bonkers into the rocks. Now let's try not going bonkers into the rocks. So you basically just dodge around and then try to collect the HP so you don't die. Okay, let me get just 1 HP, just one HP, or else I'm going to lose. Just 1 HP. That's why the game is really challenging, because the HP falls so fast that you barely have time to collect it. Oh, I exploded again. Yeah, just 1 HP. Okay, I got 3 HP. Yay! I got victory! Okay, we're gonna start with what I always say. We start with the backdrops. But wait! We have 3 backdrops today. You're like, what? Because for our backdrops, we have 2 sprite backdrops and 1 backdrop. So I'm just using the stars backdrop, and I just simply exported it and made 2 of them. Now let's start coding them. So we're gonna make a message called start, stars 2 show, and stars 1 show. Now what should we do? So start is the message that broadcasts when the 1 start block is clicked. Now you're probably wondering why we even have to make a when I receive a message called start. It's because when we're in the page, the front page, we have to make when the key S is pressed, then we can broadcast it. Now when we do that, we're going to go to the back layer, which is at the very, very back, and then it's going to show go to 0 to, and the Y is 250. So where is that? Well, somewhere up here. When it's going to repeat 47 times, change Y by -10, which makes it go down to about here. And then broadcast stars 2 show, which allows the star to show. And then repeat 46 times, change Y by -10, which goes to the bottom and hide. Now let's go continue on with the stars 2 showed. So with this sprite, we're gonna just simply duplicate it, or you can export it again. We're gonna make it go to the back layer. Yet again, it's gonna hide. When it receives the stars 2 show broadcast by stars 2, it's gonna show go to 0 x 0 y 250, which is also the exact same place. And we simply do the same exact code, except this time we do stars 1 show. Now we go to stars 1 show, it shows go to 0 to 50, the same place. Repeat 47 times, go to this in the same exact code as this, but this is the starting block. And then the broadcast stars 2 show, which this thing starts. Now you may be wondering what happens. Well, think of a circle. This is a forever loop. This thing right here. Our forever things start as with our start block. Our start is the beginning of the forever loop, like right up here. And then we broadcast stars 2 show, and then we receive stars 1 showed, and then do that code and do stars 2 showed. It's a forever loop. Now that we're done with all our backdrops, now for today's topic, since we're doing triggers and spawners, let's start with our spawners. Today our spawners are rocks and hearts. Now they may look complicated, but they're actually not, because it's just our normally cloney stuff. So when I receive the message start, which is also broadcast by S, we're going to go to 148, which is somewhere here. Now I would recommend you that we keep our Y at the same place for the whole time, which I would recommend this block. would recommend this code. This is not really included, but I will recommend this. Now, why will I recommend this? Because if we get offsided or we accidentally, let's say, drag it off block, it always goes back to this Y position, but it's not needed. Now, it's going to hide. For wherever it's going to glide 1 second to X, pick random, -250, 250, 148. Okay, you see the Y's are the same. Now, for this code, there are 2 ways to do this. So, this way we can increase our random to higher or lower. Now, it's not this block when I'm talking about random. If you do a certain gliding pattern like this, using the glide blocks, like glide to the corner, glide back, glide to the corner, and glide back to this position. Why? Because that just decreases our random spread, which means that our rocks come down in a certain pattern. While with the random here, we cause that there are no random, the random spread is very high, so the rocks don't follow a pattern. Now, when it receives start, it's going to show the costume to rocks. We have 2 costumes right here, an explosion and a rock. So when we receive start, we're going to switch costume to rocks. So not the explosion. We're going to hide. Forever, we're going to create a clone myself and wait 0.5 seconds. Now the higher you make this, the slower the clones will spawn. While the lower you make this, the more clones will spawn. So choose this wisely. Now when I start as a clone, it's going to show forever change Y by -5, so that means we fall down. If we're touching the rocket ship, then we're going to explode. And then we're going to switch costume to rocks too, which is the explosion. Then we're going to create a message called lose HP, wait 1 second, and delete this clone. Now, before we get to our next sprite, we should also mention that you should create an HP and a timer variable. Okay, now when I start as clone, which is created here, we show forever if our Y position is smaller than -160, then it's going to delete this clone. So something like down here. Okay, now that we're done with our rock sprite, let's simply duplicate this. And we can use the same. We're going to also drag specific blocks of code. We're going to drop the when I start as clone block here. We're going to want to receive start the switch costume one, which is this one. Create the clone one. But we're going to turn it to wait 1 second. Now why? Because the hearts give you HP. Now for this block, it's a bit different. So we should code it. When I start as clone, we wait, pick random 1 to 10 seconds, and we're going to show. Forever, we're going to change it by -20, which is like the gravity is so strong, it just fuse, and then it's gone. If touching the rocket ship, then we're going to just start down, pop, and then change our HP by 1, and then we're going to delete this clone. Now, all this stuff is one way of doing it. The other way is just the same thing we did last time. So you can completely copy the same thing. But I'm just going to keep with this. And when I receive clone forever, we're going to turn 15 degrees. Now, wow, that was speedy. Now that we're done with all our spawners, should we go to our triggers part of our game? So triggers, we're going to do here. So when I start as 1, we're going to set HP to 3 and then show. Now our trigger part is repeat until our key S is pressed. And we're going to bar press start and hide. Now when we receive lose HP, we just change HP by -1. You're probably wondering why I made all the trouble of creating a lose HP block. Because I guess I like to have all of our variables commanding stuff on the same sprite. Now when start forever, if our HP goes 0s, then it can instantly broadcast game over. Now, I think there's no game without a you lose and you win sprite. So, here. You lose. Victory! Woohoo! Okay, now when it receives game over, it's going to show switch costume to our lose costume and stop all. When it receives start, it's going to show our variable HP, show variable timer, and then we're going to repeat 60 times, wait 1 second, change time change timer by -1, and show switch costume to costume 2 and stop all. Now, I should also tell you that we made it survive 1 minute. Okay? If you change it there, if you make it survive 2 minutes, you'll have to make the timer to 120 and repeat 120 times and set the timer to 120. Now, it's going to switch costume to costume 2 if we pass the timer without dying and stop all. Now, when it starts to hide the variable HP and timer, this part is what you want to do, because you probably don't want something like this standing next to you, blocking out your mission. And then set the timer to 60, and then it's going to hide. Now, our rocket ship is the complicated one, so let's do our borders first. It's just simply, you'll see how bad my drawing is, but you really don't see much of it, so it may look kind of aligned. Okay, now this is the last step for our game. So don't let anything stand in our way, and let's blast through the ice. When start forever, it's going to play the cave sound. I think it's kind of mysterious. And now forever, if touching the edge, it's going to bounce. Now why? Because you didn't see any bounces, right? Because I'm using these blue things to block the bounce. So you don't really see the bounce, but actually it's bouncing. When I receive start, however, it's going to change the Y by -5. Now this is our gravity unit. So set this to your gravity unit. Now when I receive start, here's our RT controls. For if anything, so we're using an if else first. If any of the keys are pressed, we're going to do up arrow change Y by 10, right arrow change change X by 10, and then left arrow changes by -. But else, we're going to switch costume to our no fire. Now, when start forever, if anything, if the up arrow, right arrow, or left arrow is pressed, we're going to do the rocket ship A, which is you'll notice a Fiffy's head here going crazy and kind of happy here. Now, our sound blast. How did I get the sound? Oh, it's kind of blasting. It's a cool sound, right? Actually, I just blowed air like sound out of my mouth. And because if you're holding down the up arrow, it'll kind of sound like that. Kind of like gas coming out. You can also record your own sounds, or you can just go with scratches sounds. Thank you for coding with me today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye!